It's the most wonderful time of the year, you guys. It's October. So, I, like many a witch, love the month of October. Um, it is a great month for me. So, let's talk about the books I read last month in not October, in September, because I'm finally feeling up to it. I had, I think September was a month for a couple of us, you know. I could be speaking out of turn saying that, but I feel like September was a kind of a month. So, in order to combat that, I, did some good old escapism, and I read 9 books last month. If that's a lot to you, I'm sorry. If that's not a lot to you, I'm also sorry. So, let's get into it, shall we? I started the month with Katabasis, however you want to say it. I have heard a lot of things about this book since it's come out. And some people really don't like it, and some people really like it. You know, you'll see zealots on both sides of the field. And I'll tell you my opinion is this is the first 5-star R.F. Kuang for me personally. I enjoyed it, okay? As someone who likes depictions of hell, is that fair to say? I don't know. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. I thought the main character girl, was kind of insufferable in the beginning, but I feel like there was some development in there, you know. I think R.F. Kuang does put a lot of herself in her books because there is a lot of academia. And I am sure that this girl has faced a lot of discrimination, a lot of, harassment or whatever other thing under the oppressive weight of academia. Because being a woman, first of all, being a person of color, second of all, yikes, brother, you know? So I'm sure she's faced a lot. And you can kind of tell with the way she writes some of these characters in academia. I enjoyed it. I understand why some people didn't like it. Me personally, I found it fascinating. I found it engaging. I found it, I loved it. I think it was her only book that made me feel good after reading it. The card I pulled last month to see if I would like it was the Tower Reversed. And, I think it's accurate because it did defy expectation for me. It did what I didn't think that an R.F. Kuang book could do, which is be 5 stars for me. It's 2 grad students who go to hell to rescue their professor. And along the way, you find out things about this professor that make you think, no, why would you want to rescue him? So it's a good journey. I thought it was, I don't know, I enjoyed it. That's all I can say. If you don't, we all have different tastes, and that's perfectly fine. The second book I read was The Villain Edit. And this one I also pulled a card for last month to see how I would feel about it. And the card that I got was, The World Reversed, I believe. And, it did feel a little unfinished to me. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I gave it, what did I give it? 4.5 stars. And this one is by Laurie Devore. I think this one came out last year, 2024. So it's not like an older book. I found it in the stacks at my library, and I was just like, because I enjoy the Bachelor franchise. Well, I used to enjoy the Bachelor franchise. It's kind of gone off the rails. Which, to be fair, if you're on air that long, you got to know when to put the dog down. But anyways, I enjoyed it as a reality TV gremlin, as it were. I enjoyed it as a romance lover. I enjoyed it as just a fun little no-nonsense read. It's about, and an older woman, as in she's in her 30s, when most people who sign up for these shows are like in their 20s, which, you know. She signs up because she's an author and her books are kind of not doing well. And she doesn't really know what else to do. And she thought, might as well, which, you know, good for her. But it doesn't end up the way she thinks it will. And, you know, it never really does when you sign up for these shows, because they can edit you any which way they want, right? So it's basically about her being on this show. She's not trying to be the villain. She does become the villain. The hijinks that ensue thereafter, right? I thought it was fun. I think you would like this. Like, this feels like a really good beach read. I know we're in October. Again, greatest time of the year. But it feels like a very, like, just quick, you know, no, you don't really have to think too deeply on it. It doesn't hurt your brain to read it. And I'm not saying that as like it's a dumb read. I'm just saying that as in it's a quick read. The only thing about it that I think I would say is that the ending didn't feel as fleshed out for me personally. It felt a little rushed. It felt a little like, okay, I guess, you know. And I think there could have been more explored there, but, you know, to each their own. And some people might have loved it, and good for them. Okay, the third book I read in September was Bull Moon Rising by Ruby Dixon. Ruby Dixon, the woman you are. So, Bull Moon Rising, I gave that a 3.5. I enjoyed it in a lot of ways. The only thing that gives me pause is that, man, do we really need misogyny in a fantasy book? Question mark, question mark, question mark. You know, spoiler alert. The big bad, one of the big bads ends up being a woman. And like the only woman in this little guild thing that they have, you know, so then it's like there's no women. And that we could have done something else, Ruby Dixon. However, you know, all that aside, it was fun. The Minotaur love, you know, it did something for me. I liked her kind of, you know, lore thing. I like that it's a guild that, like an archaeological guild that tries to dig up magic objects, because in this universe the only way you can get magic is through these objects. So I enjoyed that little bit of, you know, that there was a lot of history in there and whatever. The girl, the main character, is very interested in history and these objects, which is why she wants to join the guild. But like I said, there's no women in it. So there's a lot of misogyny. There's a lot of, you know, and she's a bigger woman, which I also enjoy, Ruby Dixon. I do love that, you know, as a bigger woman myself. That is something, you know, it's nice to see, whatever. But do we need to make women the bad guy when, you know, even in a fantasy world there's a patriarchal society? The only other thing that was kind of like for me was like the female main character, because she comes from like a richer background. She's a little like infantilized in a way, because she doesn't really do anything for herself. So that feels a little you know, and she is a because what? And it's like, do we need more virgins? I don't know, whatever. It was good though. So the fourth book that I read was Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. Man, this book, I don't know what to say about this book, if I'm being honest with you guys, because I tore through the first 60% of this book. I was in it. I was there, okay? I was like, okay, this girl, she gets hit over the head, and so she is in the hospital, and they're saying, you know, in 7 days you're gonna die because there's something laying on a whatever, right? She's gonna die in 7 days. That's the long and short of it. I'm not here to give you medical facts that I am not sure either way could happen, because you know what? Crazy things happen every day. But she's gonna die in 7 days, and she's trying to figure out who her killer is, basically, within these 7 days. And she is doing this alongside her best friend of her whole life. And I don't know how to like describe why I don't like this book without spoiling the whole thing, if I'm being honest with you. I gave it 3.5 stars. Okay, I'll say that stamp if you don't want to be spoiled, but I'm about to spoil it. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The main thing that I hate about this book is the fact that the couple, so her parents in this book, they have 3 kids, okay? They have 2 girls and a boy. The older girl died when she was younger in an accident, okay? This girl is about to die in 7 days, okay? So that's 2 out of 3, yikes. So we find out at the end that the boy in the family is not the dad's son, okay? He's some other guy's son. The son's real dad is the main character's best friend of her whole life's dad. And he's the one who ended up killing her. When the son finds out that his biological dad killed his sister, he shot the dad. And that's how the book ends. And it's like, so then they lose 3 kids, because obviously he's gonna go to jail. So, and that doesn't feel fair. That doesn't feel fair. That doesn't feel fair. Are they good people? Who knows? It still doesn't feel fair to lose 3 kids in one lifetime. Yikes. So I didn't like that, Holly Jackson. I didn't like that at all. I think a lot of people really liked this book. Not I, brown cow. I thought there was a lot of good build-up. Like, it was a lot of good tension. There was a lot of good suspense. To then just kind of be like, okay, sure, I guess. Also, she didn't ever find out who killed her before she died. Yeah. So, the whole thing is that she always feels like she never accomplishes anything. Like, she's one of those kids who, you know, had a lot of dreams and aspirations and went to college and changed, you know, and didn't really like graduate in anything, and then kind of tried to do different things and nothing really worked out for her. And so she was like, oh, you know, the one thing I can do is solve my murder. No. So yeah, in that way, this book kind of, I gave it 3.5 because I really did like the beginning part of it. I just thought the end was like, Holly Jackson, what the fuck? Fuck? Can women win in this society? Apparently not. Not even fictional women. All right. The 5th book I read, Exquisite Ruin by Adrianne May. Let's talk about this, okay? Because Bull Moon Rising gave me an itch for a Minotaur romance. Let's say that, I guess. We're adults here, or we should be. Don't be here if you're underage, please. It gave me an itch, and I wanted to see, you know, what else? Let me just read it. It is slow to start. It's this witch who wakes up and has no memories. Creative, right? We've never seen that before. And then they have this Minotaur guy who was kind of a dick to her. And, you know, obviously she doesn't know why, because she has no memories. They're going through this maze, and it's kind of kooky, it's kind of wacky, and you learn pretty quick that this girl is into pain, because the only way she can use her magic is through pain, which, okay, sure, I guess. So she is going through this maze with this guy who fucking hates her guts. So obviously she also hates his guts. The maze is in sections in the way that when they get through a section, they go through a mirror, and she gets a memory back when she goes through a mirror. So she's slowly seeing why they hate each other, whatever. She's slowly understanding that he's just terrible, right? Because he's like a demon minotaur. I didn't mention that. Like, he's immortal, but because he's I don't know, whatever, who cares. And he makes suggestive remarks that they have done the dirty together, and she's like, I would never do that with you. And he's like, well, you have. Sure, whatever, okay. I guess it's enemies to lovers, but my God, is it just making an enemy out of me, and I never started to love it, but whatever. So further on throughout the book, and here's the thing, I will tell you this right away, I'm going to spoil this book. If you want to read this book, why? But also feel free, but I don't think you should. So I'm going to spoil it for you. Not to talk bad about Adrianne May. I just think it needed a few more months to flesh out. I think it needed a few more editors to look at it, because there was some good ideas in there, beloved, but the execution, wow. So this girl finds out through her memories, through these mirrors, that she is a witch who was hired by the Minotaur's dad mom, because it's a deity who joined into one. So it was the sky and the sea, okay? And then they fought so much that they became one, and it's Horizon now, I think. I don't really completely remember. It also doesn't matter. And so the dad mom wanted him to die. Why? You'll find out soon. But also, that's your kid, brother. But whatever. So they hired her to kill him, and her prize to kill him is immortality, because that's all she wants is immortality. Which also, again, why have you lived on this earth? I would my God, under the oppressive weight of capitalism, could not be me. Also, this is a fantasy world, so it might be better there. Who knows how the healthcare is there? Doesn't seem great though. Anyways, because her aunt brought her in front of the sky god to be like, hey, this girl can kill your son. And he was like, many have tried. Why do you think she can? And she said, well, she has certain appetites that he also likes. Meaning BDSM, brother. Why is her aunt talking about that? Her aunt is also immortal, by the way. But like, yikes. If my family member, yeah. Anyways, so that's why they send her. And she goes and she seduces him because she likes pain. And he also likes to give pain. So they have a little relationship, they're doing their little nasty thing together. Everything's great until the ultimate betrayal, the thing he's so mad at her about, the thing that he's such a dick to her about, is the fact that they're doing adult things intimately in the woods. She is on top of him. She cuts her neck, and she uses that power to bind him to her. She brings him to his dad, mom, and then he gets real pissed. So she gives him the ultimate betrayal. Oh, you betrayed me. So he's being mean to her because of that, right? And throughout this whole maze thing, he's like, she's going through it. I'll say, man, like, I get it, she did the ultimate betrayal, whatever, but like, he's mean to her. They also do the do in the maze. This is important, okay? I'm not saying this as filler. This is important. They do the do. It's rough, it's nasty, it's bloody, it's all the things, right? The things that they like, good for them. They get to the center of the thing. There's this deep cavernous abyss, and he realizes this is a metaphor for me because I'm a demon. Because they find out that all this stuff that's happening, okay, stay with me, buckle in, folks, because it's about to get really weird. It's all in their mind. Yeah, this is happening in his mind because he's a demon. You know, that's kind of crazy. Like, oh, wow, we're in your mind, and that's why we're defeating all these things. And some of them look like her, and some of them look like him, and some of them look like all the people he's over the years. Because, like I said, he's a demon. And he's a lot of people. He realizes that this is happening in his mind. Not only that, but he stabs her in the heart, okay, with his magical mystical sword or whatever. Or she stabs him in the heart with the magical mystical sword that his godparent gave to him. And then they switch bodies, and then it's revealed that the whole maze, they were body swapped. So she was actually him and he was actually her. And it's all happening in his mind. Why? Pray tell. Why? There was literally no reason. Zero reason to do that. Very strange, very weird. Didn't really do anything for anything other than make me go, okay. So, and the only thing he's thinking is not like, oh my gosh, like, now I understand and blah, 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 which he does kind of think of like, oh, now I understand women a little bit more, which kind of is like, okay. But also the thing that like disgusts him that he thinks about is that they had adult relations in the maze, remember, in the cavern thing, and he let someone do all that to him. That's what he's disgusted by, brother. I think we have bigger things to be disgusted by than that, because I feel like at that point that would just be kind of like, oh, maybe I like something I didn't think I liked. But for him to be like so like kind of weirdly homophobic about it, like, that was wild. Anyway, so he has this like self-reflective moment, whatever, like, oh my gosh, like, that's me. She has to like defeat his demonness, right? It comes out of him because like whatever, it comes out of him, and then she realizes because the gods told her, because they went into this maze because she regretted capturing him, and she was like, no, and they were like, well, this is the only way that y'all can get out, okay, if y'all go through this maze. And she's like, she asked them, how will I know, blah blah blah, whatever, and they said, you'll know when the time comes, which is so ubiquitous. Everyone says this in these adventure stories, whatever. So then she realizes that like dark mass can't go anywhere, like it can't just be defeated, it has to go in someone. So she takes his demonness, and she's like, kill me. And he's like, I can't do it, because then, right, because he's not a demon anymore, he's just a guy, he's just a blue guy, because he's like I guess he only became a minotaur thing, whatever, because he was a demon, because when his the stuff comes out of him, that sounds wrong, he's not anymore, he doesn't have hooves, he has regular body, and he's kind of blue. Don't know why he had to be blue, but I guess it's because he's like from the gods. Oh, I guess because like his parent was either the sky or the ocean, I don't know, whatever. She takes it in, she becomes really ugly, really scary, she's a demon, so she's trying to him, so, you know, chops her arm off because she's like hanging on the ledge, and then, you know, whatever, she dies. Okay. He reawakens like burning, and he's like, oh my god, like there's so much pain. He sees his dad, mom, Horizon, and they're like, well done, my son, you are now a demigod, an immortal. We just kind of wanted you not to be a demon anymore. And he's like, word. And then he's sad about his, his girl. They were like, look, we're gonna give you this little ring for immortality for that girl if you want to stay with her. If you don't want to give it to her, you don't have to, because they resurrected her because they're gods, right? Oh, okay. Like, you don't have to give it to her, but like, if she wears this ring forever, then she'll be alive forever. Which, like, can you imagine? Because these people had such a toxic relationship. What if they got in a real bad fight one day and he takes her ring off? Does she disintegrate? Does she just die? Or like, what if she's being dramatic and she just takes her, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I think that's a great idea. Don't just give it to her. Give her an object that has it, that if she doesn't have it, then she's not immortal anymore, whatever, sure. So then they meet up again in the sand, and they do adult things in the sand, and that's how it ends. But like, in the sand. Anyways, yeah, it wasn't great. Exquisite Ruin, 2 stars, And you might be like, Sarah, that sounds awful. Why did you give it 2 stars? Because you know what? Some of those scenes were pretty good, brother. I'm not gonna lie to you. Everything else, I think the idea was really good. I think the idea of like an internal maze that you have to go through and you discover things and blah, blah, blah. I think that's really good. It was not fleshed out well, and it was not written well. I am so sorry, Adrianne, man. Not to, discredit anything that you're doing. I don't like to talk shit about writers, but this is just not a good book. I'm so sorry. Anyways, so a lot of time spent on that, but I really had to talk about it because it did bother me. Okay. 6th book I read was By the Horns by Ruby Dixon. Can we see a theme, brother? So this one just came out. Either it came out like last month or the month, I don't know. I got it through Libby, which I was really surprised because the wait was really long, but it was available, and I said, oh, so I got it. Was really excited for it because I really did like the first book. This book, 2 stars. We ramped up the like sexism by 1,000 in this book because it's about the previous FMC from this story, Bull Moon Rising. This is the second book to Bull Moon Rising. Her maid, basically, who came with her to this city. This book is about her. And, oh, yikes. Once again, another woman being the big bad in this story. Ooh, we hate to see it. Ruby Dixon, please, please. Let's put blame where it's due, and it's in the patriarchy, beloved. Let's not make women fight against each other. Please. I thought this book was better because the maid isn't a virgin. I thought this book was better because was better. But I thought it was worse because of the story. And because we're still like... God, I don't like that. I don't like women being the bad guys in a story by a woman. You know what I mean? Like, if a man does that, sure. But a woman, please, we get enough. So this is her trying to get into the guild again, because in the first book, they didn't get into the guild because of the FMC of that story. Whatever. So in this book, she's trying once again because she doesn't want to be a maid her whole life. She realized she really does like this work. And she also figured out she has magical powers, and you're not supposed to have magical powers in this world. Like I said, it's only through objects. So yeah, whole thing happens. A lot of things happen. Whatever. She meets another bull man. And from the first book, I'm just going to say it. Knots. During the Bull Moon Rising, which is, that's the name of the book. But in the second book, okay, he's one of those people who is touched by the gods, so he always has a not. So, yeah. So, but 2 stars. Ruby Dixon, I really like a lot of your work. I think sometimes though, we gotta look internal. We gotta look at that internalized misogyny, and we gotta reflect on that, because in fantasy as well. Anyways, then I read Awakened by A.E. Osworth. Oh, this book was good. Okay, I loved this book. I didn't expect this book. I found this one also at the library. I was just looking through the stacks, saw this book, loved the cover. Loved the cover. It's a world where, like, when you get powers, that's called being awakened. They're all, in this story, they're all trans witches who are part of like a coven type thing. And the big bad is technology. That's right, brother. A good big bad, because the big bad is AI. Yeah. We won. So I loved that. I'll say what I didn't love. I didn't love the beginning of this book. The beginning of this book was it lost me in a few parts. It was a little bit too much. Here's a trap that some people get into when they come to writing a book and their lives are inherently political, okay? Because being trans, for some reason, is inherently political because of the stupid yahoos we have in government, because of conservatives, right? That's inherently political. You can't separate yourself from being trans and being like a statement because of the world we live in. Okay, I get that. That is clear to me. Okay, I think it's stupid. If you're part of the LGBTQ community, that is something that you have to live with, that if you are visibly part of the LGBTQ community, it is seen as a statement instead of just a lifestyle. So I understand that those two things can't be separated, but some of this book felt a little bit unnecessarily preachy in some ways. I think some of them were really important to touch on because it's things that people don't think about when it comes to being trans, when it comes to being visibly queer. A lot of it felt just too much. I'll say that. The beginning part of it was just a lot. I didn't like the main character we're following in the beginning. They were whiny, and I can't stand, I'm so sorry. I can't stand that. I can't stand a whiny person in a book. Supposedly in a book, you would then show, okay, look, we can be in these terrible situations, but we don't have to be defined by these terrible situations. But I don't know. I thought a lot of it was good. I thought a lot of it was clever. All of the chapters, by the way, are tarot cards. So I fucked with that hard. Loved that. Oh my God. Loved it. And they made sense. So it wasn't just like tarot cards to be thrown in as chapters. It was tarot cards as tarot cards, and the reversals. Great. Beautiful. Amazing. There were many voices in it, which I also love, but other people do not like that and did not like that about this book because it can get confusing. And so I understand those criticisms. It was a 4.5 stars for me. It was so close to being 5 stars, but there were some parts where it dragged along, where it became kind of soapboxy, and there were so many different soapboxes that this author chose to stand on, and I understand it. The times that we're living in, I get it, brother. But time and place. There's a time, there's a place. And I think a couple key moments in the book, powerful. When it becomes like every other, then it's like, okay. Then you start to feel a little bit like, a little bit too much. But I really liked it. I don't think this will get the traction that it should get. Because it can get confusing with the multiple perspectives. It can get a little bit much, especially if you're not in the LGBTQ community. I think a lot of it might seem a little superfluous, but I thought it was great. It's great. The next book is The Tenant by Freida McFadden. 1.5 stars. Is that a surprise? No. I just got this one as an audiobook because I had to do a long drive. So I was listening to it. It's terrible. Freida McFadden pops out books like they're nothing to her, and good for her. I hope her career is long and happy. Her books are not great. You don't read them for great books. You read them to have something to read. She always does the bait and switch where she makes you think this is the character that did all the bad things, but it's actually this one. Oh, and it never pays off. It never feels earned. It never feels good. It just feels like, okay, cool. The Tenant, obviously, is about someone who they're going through financial struggles because they just lost their job. They get a tenant so they can, afford to live. And it's them and their fiance. And then this tenant and a whole bunch of crazy shit starts happening. So the guy obviously blames the tenant. And they, are very toxic with each other and whatever. He loses his fiance. He loses everything. Freida McFadden, don't make me stand up for a man. I hate that shit. Okay, so then everything bad happens to this guy. In the end, spoiler alert, the fiance did it the whole time because he cheated on her one time a long time ago, and she really hated that, and so she wanted to fuck up his life, and she did. She fucked up his life. But yeah, that was it. Sure. Whatever. It was an audiobook to have on while I was driving. That's all it was. The next book was A Hunger Like No Other, Kresley Cole. Wow, 2.5 stars. So I was thinking about how Mate is coming out this month by Ali Hazelwood, which is the second book to the first book, which was Bride, which was a werewolf romance. And this book apparently inspired that book. She said it was the blueprint, and a lot of people were saying it's really good, but don't mind the first, half of the book with all the consent, non-consent. Wow, there's a lot of consent, non-consent. Okay, this guy was entombed for 150 years. He's a werewolf, and he smells his mate nearby, and he bites his own leg off to go get her, which, find a man who will bite his own leg off for you to come find you, I guess. He obviously is very rough and not gentle, but his mate happens to be what? A vampire. And obviously, they don't get along, and so he's really mean to her, and she's very just damsel in distress, scared about everything. And yeah, it's a lot. So if you have any, trauma, which most women in America do, patriarchy, am I right? Maybe skip it. It wasn't, it didn't I kind of felt like, I might read another one of her books, not because I liked it, but because I was kind of interested in the background characters and seeing their stories, and the other books are like the background, are the other characters in the story. So, if I don't think it's because of this book. It's not. It's because of the other characters in the book. It was okay. It just kind of made me feel a little strange. That was it. Yeah, that was the last book I finished. So it wasn't the best reading month I've had this year, but it also wasn't, it was whatever. What are you reading? What's on the agenda for you? I hope you're having a great day. I hope life is treating you well. I hope these times are getting better, maybe. And you know what? They will get better is the thing. It's October, baby. We're almost at the end of this year. It has been a year, but, bad things don't last forever. Enjoy the good things when they do come. Be kind to yourself and those around you.